Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well and welcome to 2019. Hope everyone had a happy and safe and blessed new year. It is also the feast of Mary Mother of God. Yes, I know I am a dorky Catholic, but still needed to be said. With all of that being said though, I am finally now putting together my list for you guys of my top 10 movies of 2018. It's taken me a long time because there were a lot of movies that I missed in 2018. I fell behind very much so, especially over the past few months, which is totally on me, various things going on in my life, and that is something that I want to promise to you all that I'm going to do a much better job at in 2019. This is a movie review channel, and I always put videos out every single day, but I do feel that I have been lacking in my movie reviews. I know that they don't do the best. I know that people don't tend to watch those videos or give them that much attention, but at the end of the day, it's the thing that I'm most passionate about. Obviously, I'm passionate about pop culture, I'm passionate about Star Wars, and these bigger topics that I can talk about ad nauseum, but I'm also very much passionate about movies and love reviewing movies as well. And so it is my goal this year to start putting out more consistent reviews when it comes to movies, not just on my Letterboxd account, not just on my Stardust account, but also to here on the YouTube channel. So getting that out of the way with promises of the new year, let us go ahead and get started with some honorable mentions. There were so many great films that came out this year, and only one of them was a documentary that I thoroughly enjoyed. Documentaries don't tend to be my favorite type of genre, but this one was one I was easily able to make an exception for, and that was Won't You Be My Neighbor. This story goes into Mr. Rogers. It goes into how his show came to be. It goes more into the man himself. And that's the reason why I loved it so much, was that it wasn't just a, oh, everything's peachy and everything was great all the time. It talks about some of the darker elements to it. Obviously, I'm not trying to say that he did anything crazy and it's finally being uncovered, but rather it just goes under the, into the fact that it was very difficult for him to even get this show on the air, that it took him a long journey, lots of prayer, and also a lot of dedication in order to get it finally on the screen. So it's a great documentary. If you are ever a fan or were ever a fan of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, this is a documentary for you. It's not particularly long, it's engrossing, and you're also getting to truly enjoy one of the kindest souls, one of the kindest human persons that's probably ever existed in the history of humanity. Coming in at another honorable mention is one that was on my underrated list the other day, and that is Chappaquiddick. Once again, Chappaquiddick tells the story of Ted Kennedy, who, and this is a real-life event, this actually historically happened, and the movie itself only focuses on what happened. It does not try and delve into conspiracy theories. It doesn't try to delve into anything else other than the facts of the case, what's been released by the FBI, and what we actually know happened. And Ted Kennedy was under the influence of alcohol, somehow drove off of a bridge with a woman in the car, left that woman, he was able to escape, left that woman in the car, and then didn't report the incident until about 8 hours or so later. Turns out this woman was able to survive the crash, did not drown, found an air pocket in the car, and ended up suffocating over a period of several hours, meaning that had he took responsibility, had he actually told somebody about what had happened, she very well could have been saved. And so that's why I think that this movie is just so important. Not only is it well made, not only is the acting brilliant, but also, too, it doesn't go political. It tells an historical event and what happened, and also the political ramifications of that event as well. Because this is a story that you probably don't hear that much, to hear this much talked about with Ted Kennedy, unless you're in certain circles. Most people, when you hear about Ted Kennedy, you hear the Lion of the Senate and all the great things he did, and he may have done good things, but at the end of the day, he is also responsible for the loss of this innocent woman's life, and the film doesn't go into a it just stays away from, again, the conspiracies of the possibility of an affair or anything like that. It doesn't even go there. It stays solely to the facts. And because of that, I think this movie is fantastic and a must-watch film, especially for anyone who's a history buff, especially for anybody who maybe wants to know a little bit more about this man and how, because of the family he was a part of, and how we can still even see this in modern-day politics, how who you are a member of, or family-wise, or even political party-wise, could possibly mean for you being able to get away with certain things, including the killing of an innocent person. Excellent film overall, so definitely easily making it into my honorable mentions. Another honorable mention, and I know that a good friend of mine, Greta, who has her own channel, she just did her top 10 list and also did her worst movies of the year list, and this movie got onto her worst. So obviously you see the audience score there, 57%. This is a polarizing film. I personally loved it. I thought that the camera work was fantastic. I think that them deciding to shoot it on an iPhone actually add to the story. I think it really does make the story feel that much more real, and also it really does help add to that sense of, is she going crazy? Is this person actually experiencing the events that you're seeing on screen, or is it all in her head? And I think that having the visuals of the phone, I mean, you can even see just here with this trailer, getting those angles, though you could probably get close to those types of angles and those types of shots with a standard camera. With an iPhone, with an actual phone camera, it just closes everything in just that much more. And the fact that they were able to even get this type of a film entirely done on an iPhone is truly an amazing thing. And so if for anything else, I must give it an honorable mention for just how just how incredibly inventive this film is in the medium of film, and how it actually shows that, yes, not only can you do it at a low budget, but you can also even make a bigger budget film with an iPhone. And hopefully, too, this film allows for more people, for more content creators, people who want to tell a story, but maybe don't feel like they have the needs to see, hey, look, this person had nothing else really but an iPhone, and obviously had some more some more content and some more equipment for recording audio and things of that nature. But still, the fact that they were able to at least get those images with nothing more than a phone camera shows how far we've gone, and also, I think, shows a lot of potential for the future on top of that. Another one on the honorable mentions list is Ant-Man and the Wasp. This film is just great. Is it as good as the first one? I would say not. I think that the first film is a little bit funnier, but this one is a great sequel. If you were having to make a sequel to a film, as Hollywood is just so obsessed with sequels, this is one of the better ones, hands down. Evangeline Lilly, and again, I blank on these names all the time. Paul Rudd do a great job. Michael Pena probably gives another one of the best performances of his career here. He is just so funny, and it's so glad to see his character in this film, and it's always great to see his character featured. So definitely check it out if you can. One of the better Marvel films. Didn't make as much as the other Marvel films have, but it is still a solid addition to the universe nonetheless, with the only real issue being the villain was overplayed, was overacted, and for the most part was very forgettable and was my least favorite part of the film, but still an honorable mention nonetheless. Another one is Searching. This is a film that is truly, just like with Unsane, this one is truly innovative because it all takes place on an iPhone, on a MacBook, using nothing but iPhone cameras, using nothing, at least from where we get the images, or are told that we get the images from. I don't think they actually shot some of these scenes on the phone or on the MacBook, though they very well could have. But basically, everything takes place within the computer. So as you see, that's the image that you see in trailer 1. It's because that is what you see. You see him looking into the camera. You see him on his computer looking at messages, all for the fact of him trying to find his lost daughter, and the fact that he's able to, and the story rather, is able to use social media, is able to use this type of technology that we have, the technological age that we're in right now, to be able to tell this story it truly is amazing, and it takes you in, and you're just invested in it. It's one of those films that it very easily could have fallen into just typical tropes and been very boring, but it's so innovative, and it drags you in with the story on top of that, and because of that, it is absolutely one of the best films of the year. Another honorable mention, I have a lot of honorable mentions. That said, there's a lot of really good films this year, but these are films that I really liked, but overall didn't quite make my top 10, and I'll explain how I end up coming up with my top 10 in a second. One, though, is definitely Deadpool 2. Once again, with the other sequels that we had on this list so far, not as good as the original, but still good nonetheless. Very funny, probably one of the funniest films of the year. It's always great to see Deadpool as being a character that can cross over into that rated R genre, but also at the same time continue to bring the strength of the comic book genre with it. And he's such a unique character, and Ryan Reynolds is just amazing. The fact that he just fully commits to this character, not only in the movie, but also in preparing for the movie, in marketing, outside of the film, when he does charity type work. It's truly amazing, and go see this for no other reason than to support Ryan Reynolds in this project, because this has been a huge passion project for him for a very long time, and I really hope that they continue, especially since Disney is at this point buying Fox and therefore buying the rights to this property, that they're able to continue this on. And as long as Ryan Reynolds has a lot of creative control, I think that we'll be okay in the future. But this is a great sequel. Definitely check it out. And the last, the last of the ones on my list for a honorable mention is one I just saw yesterday, actually, and it's Paddington 2. And I actually have to say that this is probably, and the reason why this is the last honorable mention is because this is one that's almost in a category in and of itself. I didn't have enough time to really sit and think with this movie because of the time frame, and I wanted to get a video out by the first of the year. But this film is truly special. It's a family film. It has visual effects that are not groundbreaking, but are still extremely effective. When you see these CGI characters, Paddington being of course the main one, interacting with the actual world around him, it works. It works so well. Again, is it the crispest CGI ever? No, and it's not meant to be. It's a family film, and it's just great. I mean, also, too, on top of this, Hugh Grant probably gives the performance of his lifetime in this role. In fact, some have even said that maybe he should be considered for Best Supporting Actor, and I actually would say that that is totally not is not totally outside of the realm of possibility or reason, because he's just that good in the movie, and everyone is great in this movie. The cast is absolutely fantastic. The writing is smart and witty. The pacing is great. And the heart of this story is truly what is the most special. I've mentioned this before, that when I look at movies, I try and find heart, and if it has heart, I'm more likely or not going to be drawn to it. And this has heart in spades, and is just a breathtaking film. Go check out the first one if you haven't. The first one's great. Second one, I think, is even better than the first one, and I think you'll have a good time. A great film to watch with your kids, a great film to watch with your family, because it's nice, fun family entertainment that doesn't try and do some of the just the stupid things that modern day family films do, and it does it just to perfection. And of course, Paddington is shown here as a baby cub, and it's absolutely adorable, and I love it. All right, so now I'm going to be getting into my actual top 10 list. I know, I'm going to put a timestamp down below so that way people can skip to my top 10 list if they don't want to hear about my honorable mentions, but these were still very good films. They were good enough for me to want to talk about and give my seal of approval to, that you should go out and watch those films. But these top 10, these next 10 that I'm going to talk about, were indeed the best of the best. They were not just the best made, but also they were my own personal favorite. If there are certain movies that are not in this list, honorable mention or top 10, please know that maybe I didn't see it, or maybe I didn't have the same view of it as you did, as many people have come to see with my current review of Bumblebee. Again, that's the reason why that's not on this list, because I don't think it's one of the best movies of the year. But these are, and the way that I came to these conclusions is this. The way I always rank my movies is I give every movie so I go to a Wikipedia page for all the movies that came out in a given year. I write down the ones that I remember that I like. And then as I do that, when I have that solid list, what I do is I go down and I say 1 through 10, how good was the movie? How much did I enjoy the movie? Okay, put that number down. Separate category. I then put how likely am I to rewatch this movie? And then I put 1 through 10, how likely I am. Add those numbers up, boom, now you have a way to be able to put them into a list. And then also, it means that if there's a tie at any point, which oftentimes there is, you're able to only choose between maybe 2 or 3 films, and then all you needed to do is decide on your preference, saying which one did I like more, which one would I more likely watch before the other, and that's how you are able to break the ties, and that is what I did for this list. So with no further ado whatsoever, my top 10 movies of 2018 are, starting off at number 10, Isle of Dogs. Just the name alone, Isle of Dogs. I love dogs. Beautiful play on words there, and also to a truth of what this film is about. It is a love letter to dogs. It is a love letter to animals, and also the relationship that dogs have with human persons. And it's great. It's so good, and not to mention, it's just once again Wes Anderson at his best with the stop motion, with the claymation animation. The fact that it probably took him ages to make this film, and how everything is perfectly crafted, perfectly framed, meticulously worked on, adds to it. And when you have that kind of care and craft in a film on top of a great story with heart and with tremendous love, it's going to instantly be on one of my favorites of the year, and it comes in at number 10. And the only reason why it's not higher on this list is because there's only one character voiced by one of my least favorite persons in Hollywood, Greta Gerwig, and as soon as she's on screen, I just immediately got caught out of the movie. It took me out because her character was just so bad. Even my wife said that, and that was before I even knew who voiced the character. And when I found out it was Greta Gerwig, I realized, oh, well, that's why, because she's not that good as people say. But anyway, coming at number 10, Isle of Dogs. Coming in at number 9, Leave No Trace, a film that most people have probably never seen, but please go out of your way to see it. It's so much fun. Ben Foster gives one of the performances of his career. It's a great story about the relationship between a father and a daughter, talking about a man dealing with PTSD after coming back from war, and how he wants to leave society. He wants to live in the wilderness. He lives in the forest in Portland with his daughter and raises his daughter in this type of environment. And so not only do you want to go camping after this because you just see everything that they go through, but also you understand and go through their own personal experiences about how they're uncomfortable with modern living. They're uncomfortable with the modern day distractions that so many of us oftentimes get lost in. So it's a great commentary on that, about how we oftentimes just forget and we just put ourselves out of, you know, what's really important in life. But also too, it is just a tour de force with performances, because not only is Ben Foster fantastic, but also the girl that plays his daughter, Thomasin McKenzie, is absolutely fantastic. Please go check out this film because it did not get nearly as much love as it should have. All right, coming in at number 8 is Bohemian Rhapsody. This film was just a total joy. I mean, not only are you getting to rock to the music of Queen the entire time, but you are also getting to see an amazing performance to boot. Rami Malek comes in and plays Freddie Mercury, and he is essentially flawless. He truly, I think, is able to not only master the mannerisms of Freddie Mercury, but also even the speaking style of Freddie Mercury as well. The only thing I will say that is a big issue with him and his character, and this is definitely not his fault because he wasn't the one that put the teeth in his mouth, but the fake teeth that they obviously have in there, and they're obviously fake, definitely get in the way of his performance, because he's constantly jumbling up on those teeth, because obviously if you have something giant in your mouth and you're trying to speak around it, it's going to be difficult. But even with that, Rami Malek does an amazing job and is able to pull it off in a very cool way. And the fact that they're able to do almost shot-for-shot remakes of some of the big concerts that Queen did is fantastic, all while focusing on not only Freddie Mercury, but also the entire band and their story. This easily could have fallen into one of those Oscar bait films that focuses on Freddie Mercury and talks about his lifestyle and focuses on the fact that he's a gay man. And that was what I was actually worried that this film might do. But it addresses it. It says this is just another part of his story. This is just a part of the movie. There are other parts to it as well. And it works perfectly because they realize that there's more to a person than just their orientation, just their race, just their gender, and therefore gives a complete picture of not only Freddie Mercury, but also of the entire band and how they came together and how certain songs came together as well. So if you're a big fan of Queen's music, watch this. It's so much fun. It's great. Already bought the Blu-ray for my wife that should be coming out over the next couple of months because it is absolutely fantastic. All right, coming in at number 7, and I'm actually not surprised that these two movies are next to each other on this list, but this one I think was just the better film, and that is A Star Is Born. Great original music. Had no idea that that you had this kind of star power. Bradley Cooper, no idea that he could sing the way that he did. I mean, this guy, honestly, to me, not being a country music guy, I think that Bradley Cooper, as the actor Bradley Cooper, could go on tour as a country music singer, because that's just how good he is, and that's just how well he performs the role. Lady Gaga is great in here as well. Not only do, of course, we know that she's going to rock it with the vocals because she's got one of the most naturally beautiful voices currently working in Hollywood, but also too, she gives a great performance. I will say she is still green. You can definitely tell that this is one of her first big time roles, but that does not take away from her performance. It's still great, it's solid, but it's not as great as some people are trying to say it out to be. Do I think she should be nominated for an Oscar? Maybe. I definitely think that there's definitely some Oscar nomination there, but to say that she should win, I wouldn't go that far yet. She's not quite there yet. She's close, and for her first time out there, for her first time on the big screen, she does an amazing job, but it's still, of course, not quite there because obviously she's a green actor when it comes to screen acting. The score is fantastic, as I said. The writing is great. The acting is great. Bradley Cooper deserves an Oscar for his direction of this film because it's fantastic. And also, this film had probably the best trailer of 2018. Go watch the first Star Is Born trailer, and if you don't get chills, I don't think that you have a heart because it's just truly that amazing of a performance. Coming in at number 6 is the only horror film that I really loved this year, and that is A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place is John Krasinski's just tour de force. This is his first time taking over the director's chair, working with his wife in the film, and oh my god, it's so great. The fact that this movie made you in the theater, even though you know that you're not in this situation where you have to be quiet or else these monsters are going to come out and get you, the fact that every person in the theater was just even holding their breath, let alone holding their popcorn, trying to not to make any sound. Just the fact that a movie was able to do that to an audience already shows how powerful it is. But on top of that, it's an incredibly original story. It's incredibly thrilling, and great performances also easily add to it as well. The score also, though maybe not memorable, adds to the aesthetic of the film, and dear God, it's fantastic. So John Krasinski's already on board to do A Quiet Place 2, and one of the most exciting parts of that, for me at the very least, is that that means that we might not get a direct sequel to these characters, like Emily Blunt might not come back, but the world that was built with these monsters that can only hear sound, that we'll get another movie based in that world, and I want more writers and directors doing that. I would love for more writers and directors to do what now John Krasinski or the people at Cloverfield are doing, where they're able to take these worlds and tell stories that don't have to be just direct sequels, but can just take place in the universe that is built. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about world building. If you do it well enough, you can have independent stories that don't rely on previous characters or even previous material necessarily in order to work out. This is easily one of the best films of the year. I really hope it gets some Oscar consideration all around, because it is just fantastic. If you are worried about scary movies, if you don't like scary movies altogether, don't worry. It doesn't really over-rely on jump scares. It's definitely more of a thriller than it is a horror film, and so that's the reason why I can definitely recommend that you watch this film. All right, guys, so that was my 6 through 10. Jumping into my top 5. My number 5 pick is going to surprise a lot of people, because 1, you maybe never saw it, or 2, you saw it or heard, or rather you heard of it and realized, and you were thinking to yourself, oh, how could this possibly be good? And yet it was one of my favorite movies of the year, and that is Game Night. Game Night comes in at number 5. This movie was just so much fun, and as I said before, whenever I do my rankings, I always say, how much do I like a movie? How likely am I to rewatch it? This film does very well, not only in that first category, but especially, I want to say that this got a 10 out of rewatchability, because this is a movie that you can watch over and over again, and it's still funny, and it still works because of the characters that are built here. There are some of the best character development exist within this film, and yes, it's Jason Bateman. Yes, I know that the cast might seem silly for this reason, but it really is fantastic. I mean, you got Kyle Chandler in here, Rachel McAdams in here as well, and there's one character in particular that I want to give a huge shout out to, and that's Jesse Plemons, who plays, oh my goodness, Jesse Plemons. You need to see this movie for no other reason than to see his performance, because he plays this incredibly dry wit humor that had me laughing in stitches. When I first saw this in theaters, before I saw it with my wife, I saw it alone in theaters, and every time he was on screen, I immediately started laughing. That's the kind of performance that he gives, and it is truly refreshing. So definitely recommend this. Top 5 movie of the year, no question about it. It's hilarious. Please go check out Game Night. It's absolutely fantastic. Coming in at number 4, we've got Mission Impossible Fallout. This is the best Mission Impossible to date. I put this ahead of all the other Mission Impossibles, including what used to be my all-time favorite, which was Mission Impossible 4, because of just how great that movie was and what it did for the franchise. But this one not only has the narrative elements on its side, not only is it able to connect stories that date back several films, but it's also able to give you one of the best action sequences and one of the best action movies that has ever existed. I said at the time that this might be the best action movie in the last decade. It could go back even further than that. If you think about all of the best action films that have ever existed, Mission Impossible Fallout is going to be in that top 5, maybe even top 10 list, which is really saying something, especially since the lead in this, Tom Cruise, who's in his 50s, is still doing his own stunts, is still going out of his way to put his life on danger. In fact, got injured in one of the shots in the film, and yet even though he broke his ankle, he got up and continued the shot. So even though Tom Cruise might be crazy outside, even though that Tom Cruise might have some crazy beliefs and some crazy thoughts, nothing can deny the fact that this man is dedicated to every performance that he does, and this is one of the best. Mission Impossible Fallout, one of the best movies of the year without any question in my mind. I know this is going to be on a lot of people's top 5 list, and that's the reason why it comes in at number 4 for me, because it was just that much damn fun. Another movie that I thoroughly enjoyed is my number 3, and that is Sicario, Day of the Soldado. This is a film that was actually my second most anticipated film. Actually, no, this was my first most anticipated film of the year. So when I did my anticipated list last year, my number 1 was Sicario 2, Day of the Soldado. My number 2 was Avengers Infinity War. Sure enough, as you see right now, you have not heard about Avengers Infinity War, which should give you a hint about the future of this list. But this one comes in at number 3 because is it as good as the first one? No. But is it still awesome movie? You are damn right. Critics obviously didn't like it. There's a lot of gun violence in there, and also it tells a story about the Mexican border without being political. So why, of course, why would they like that type of a movie? Because it doesn't go into their stupid narratives. Instead, no, what it focuses on is telling an awesome story, dealing with drug cartels, dealing with just some amazing performances. Benicio del Toro gives one of the best performances of his career here. Josh Brolin also gives a great supporting role to this film as well, and it's just awesome. It's kick-ass. If you like any type of action film, if you like films that are going to make you think, if you like films that are even going to thrill you at times from violence and things like that, this is the movie for you. It's definitely not hyper violent, I would say, though there are graphic scenes. It is just great. I mean, Taylor Sheridan, who wrote the first Sicario film, comes back and writes this film as well, and so that's why the writing is totally on point. And the one downside to this film, and the reason why it's not higher on this list, and the reason why it's not as good as the first Sicario film, is because Denis Villeneuve, who directed the first one, is not a part of this. Also, Roger Deakins did not come back to do the cinematography like he did for the first one either. But the cinematographer and director do a great job here nonetheless, and this film is absolutely fantastic. I own it on Blu-ray, and it is just wonderful. So go check out this movie if you haven't done so already, but watch the first one first because it is great. Emily Blunt's in the first one. She doesn't come back in this one, but that's okay because the Benicio del Toro's character is perfect. Coming in at number 2, and this was a surprise for me because this one was not on my list. This is what caused me to actually shift my list down by a number because this was just such an amazing film that I wasn't ready for. This is a film that I was ready to be critical of because it seemed, at least by its trailers and by the way the media was portraying it to be, fitting certain tropes that a lot of critics, especially a lot of political hack critics, like to look at when they overall choose their films. And that movie is Green Book, which luckily, and I can say without any hesitation, does not go down the political route. It's a movie that takes place during a certain time of history where it's dangerous for a black man to be driving alone in the South without possibly being beat up. It tells the story of Mahershala Ali's character, who I'm sure I just butchered his name, and I'm so sorry for that. But he is a concert pianist. He has a doctorate in music, and he is just brilliant. And so he chooses to go on this tour through the South to play at various locations, and he needs a bodyguard. And so that's where Viggo Mortensen comes into play. He is chosen to be his driver and also his bodyguard. And the journey that these two characters go on is just phenomenal. I mean, each of them go on their own personal journey. Each of them learn something new about not only the other person, but also themselves. And it's funny. This is a movie that could have easily been serious and dramatic and, oh, you need to feel bad about all these things that happened during the day. And it's not to say that you don't feel bad that this was the reality of their situation, but it's able to take a serious subject and make it so lighthearted that it's just downright funny. It's not listed as a comedy, but you know what? This might be one of the best comedies of the year because the chemistry between these characters works so well that you just can't help but laugh at some of the lines that they say, that you just can't help but laugh by some of the situations that these guys get into, especially Viggo Mortensen. Viggo Mortensen deserves an Oscar for this role, and I'm really hoping that him using the N-word, even though he wasn't using it in a derogatory way, he was having a talk and a discussion about what life was like during this time period, which to me makes the most sense as to use that type of word. It would be like going into an English class and reading through one of the various books written during the 1800s, 1900s, and just bleeping out the words that are in the actual book. Words themselves can be huge educators, and so that's the reason why he was using the word at the time. I think it's blown over, but obviously anything can happen in Hollywood these days. But Viggo Mortensen deserves all the praise in the world, and it is interesting to me that audiences like this more than critics do. It really is a great film. Don't believe if any critic tries to give you some kind of political spin on this, ignore it. Go see it for yourself. Make up your own mind, because this film is fantastic. And not only that, but the fact that that one of the Farrelly brothers, these are the ones that brought us Dumb and Dumber, that brought us some really bad movies. Obviously, I love Dumb and Dumber, but also brought us Three Stooges and movies like that just were not very good. Brought us this movie, and it's an Oscar contender, and it's amazing. It's phenomenal. Go check this out. Great performances, and guys, it is funny. You might not expect going to see this movie to laugh. You're going to laugh your ass off, and it is so much fun. We talk about movie-going experiences. This may have been one of my favorite movie-going experiences of the year, which is why it comes in at my number 2 favorite movie of 2018, which of course means that my number 1 film of 2018, my favorite movie of the year, is without any question and no hesitation, Avengers Infinity War. What can I say that has not been said about this film already? Visual effects are outstanding. The cast is phenomenal. The story is great. We have one of the best villains, one of the best superhero villains of all time in Thanos. It's a character that you can understand, and that is always what makes a good villain. If you can at least, you don't have to obviously accept or believe in their mission, but if you can at least understand where they come from, why they are doing what they're doing, and able to empathize with them to a point, it just makes the villain that much better, because you're able to understand where they're coming from, hate what they're doing, but also have that empathy as well. Thanos is that character. Thanos is fantastic in this. I think the CGI for Thanos was great. Is it perfect? No. Obviously, I think that they sometimes use the CGI a little too much, but I think it has just the right amount of balance where it's able to just look beautiful, and it's probably one of the best Marvel films that has ever been released, which is why I cannot wait for Endgame to come out next year. And yeah, this is the movie of 2018. Like, for anyone that's trying to say, oh, there were other movies that I like better, no one can deny that Avengers Infinity War was the movie of 2018. It's the movie that more people saw, over $2 billion, is the movie that most people talked about, and is the movie that is going to have, I think, the most impact on film goers going into 2019 and beyond, and therefore it has to be at my number 1 spot. Anyway, guys, what are y'all's thoughts on my list? I know it's a long video. I know it's also a long time in the making. I said I was going to make it before the new year, and now it is January 1st, but I wanted to make sure to get it out there before I changed my mind, and this is my definitive list, so this list is not going to change, even though there are certain movies like Crazy Rich Asians, for example, that I heard great things about that I still need to see, but I wanted to get this list out there to you guys, and also for you guys just to know that I love movies, and I, as I said in the very beginning of the video, want to be able to provide more movie-related content to the channel, especially more movie reviews to the channel as well. So please, if you like this video, smash that like button, give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe. It helps me out a lot. Also, guys, leave me some comments, leave me some feedback. It helps me out a lot. I mean, I am not a professional. I am still very much learning YouTube. I am still very much learning how to be this personality that I guess I have becoming, and I have no one else to thank but you guys, and this has been an incredible year, not just here on YouTube, but also in film, and just to be able to share my love of film with you guys has been great. So once again, leave me your top 10 in the comments below, and let me know your own thoughts on my top 10 list as well. Have a great day, and as always, God bless.